Are we ready? Well, I know I am. So, whether or not you are, it's time for another episode of the Indie Tales Game Dev live stream. Hey, my name is Adam. You are the Pixel Pals. I've already said the name of the show. So without further ado, it's time to go. Welcome everyone to the Friday edition of the stream. It is the 20th of March today. I should start doing that, just saying the date. 20th of March today. We are working on Insignia dev at the moment, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things in the game. Maybe. I don't really have a script today. Although I will be shutting the stream down a little bit early because I'm going to a meetup event not too far from where I live with some other game devs and just, keeping up with the Joneses, the video Joneses. What is going on here? This is okay. Welcome everyone in chat on both Twitch and on YouTube. Welcome to Virtue vs. Vice, Dwight Game Dev. How's it going? Anyone who happens to be lurking on YouTube, hi. And big thank you to most recent follower, Integratident. Thank you so much. And Kev Larson, thank you so much for the follow, for the subscription. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to take off my watch before I knock it onto anything. Just put it over here. I have been doing some revival of my old 3DS. I spoke yesterday about how I've been booting it back up again, trying to play some old games. And yeah, I'm quite enjoying getting acquainted with kind of what people are doing to preserve the 3DS. It's really cool. There's still an active community of people out there trying to make it a thing that you can use to have fun and play games, and that's what I'm in the mood for. So yeah, the funny thing about it is the screen on my 3DS it kind of yellowed a little bit during its time in a box, but since I've had it on and using it, it's been brightening back up. Like the screen, it's like the pixels are remembering how to get brighter. They were quite yellow before, but it seems to be resolving itself. I'm gonna get into some Bravely Default soon. I haven't played that game before, but yeah, just trying to get into it. I want to go back and play games the way the games were. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Anyway. So, I'm going to turn this off now so that I don't distract myself for the rest of the stream. Let's power you off. Alrighty. And I'll put it in my little pouch for later, I suppose. Okie dokie. So, no gaming. No. We're making games. Let's have a look at what we're doing today. So, I've been mostly trying to get ahead of some of the things that we were working on, like yesterday. Trying to make sure that actually, what I should make sure is that the stream on YouTube is up. Is it up? We got people watching? We do. Okay. It's not... Yeah, it's public. Sweet. Alrighty. So, yeah, I've been doing some recreation of this enemy's behaviors. He's actually not too far. He's getting pretty far along now. He needs to stop when he attacks us. And in general, his rigid body is kinematic, which means he needs a way to sort of slow down whenever he's not running around. So let's go quickly make that the case. I guess we could just say if in like fixed update, well, when we set attack, we should say like, it's a tough one because, yeah, I want it to be kinematic. I want it to be able to move. Maybe we can make it dynamic, but with no collisions. Maybe. If I let it rock right now, will it have a collider? Physics collider? It does have a collider. And it's on the NPC layer. So we could say maybe take away the collider by making it yeah, I think I'll try that. All right, so what we're going to do is go to the sensors. We're going to go to self-awareness. Going to take the ground check, the body rect, make it 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I said 0, 0, 0, 0. So it has basically no collider. It won't be able to do that. Self-awareness. And then I won't make it kinematic. I'll make it dynamic. But we'll take gravity and make it 0. So that its linear drag can be 0.05. And that way, hopefully, maybe we can make it 1. I don't know, see what happens. Yeah, so that when I attack it, hello, that's very aggressive. It doesn't respond to getting hurt yet, but we can make this linear drag like 2 or something like that. And now it will slow down a lot more when it's not expressly adding velocity to itself. That's the goal anyway. Hello? Hello? Okay, so yeah, that's better. Cool. Well, look, I'm not here to expecting to do that. Hey, a happy uterus. I think for now we'll just watch Cakes make his bank, and I'll just hold on to that. I don't need to like think about the future that way. All right. So we are going to what are we doing? We're going to make sure that we actually take damage correctly. So this take damage is supposed to be overriding this one, and this one is supposed to be pulling from is there something here that takes damage? Yeah, this add listener is not working anymore. So instead, add hit receiver is kind of what we want. We want to call that on the dust on his start. We want to say life, add hit receiver, and then hit receiver needs to be a class, I think. So typically it's a state. And we do have one called hurt. And we can make it a hit receiver if we want. And then we can implement the interface. And we can say return 0 default priority, and then we have this receive hit here. And then this can do that, and then this is always true. There we go. Then we can get rid of this. And this becomes hurt. But we have to instantiate it first. Sweet. Let's see if that works. How do you decide when to use comment? So how do I decide when to use comments? For me, comments are for whenever the code is not self-explanatory and I need to explain kind of why I made a decision. That's what most people, I think, agree with. Okay, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Life. When we get hit, this is referring to it's a character state, character.life. So we need to actually say back here hurt.set core this, because we're gonna need it before we enter it. There we go. Good start. Now, I think I neglected to give it hurt states. So if we go to, actually, we don't even have hurt states at all. They were supposed to go into the animations in dust right here. So we've got hurt anims. So 1, 2, 3, and it's dust, hurt 1, dust, hurt 2, and actually we don't need a third one, it's just 2. The third hit kills it. Good code is about modularization. 1, 2, 3. Let's try that again. So he got hit, but he was already on the second hit. So what's happening here? When we enter the hurt state, the first thing that happens is that we enter this, and then we go to this, and then there's the get hit that happens there. So at this point, it actually increments. So we receive the hit, we get hit. How do we actually enter this? Should process is true. Receive hit goes to get hit. I think we should say like, maybe we just don't do this at all. And we say, instead of core.set this, that'll do. Still not quite right, but I'm going to compile anyway. Okay, so getting overwhelmed is something that happens when you have, we were talking about this yesterday, and I got a little bit overwhelmed yesterday thinking about how I was going to work on this specific thing. I think what happens is, well, first of all, my memory is quite good for this kind of thing. That's all I really can say. I have like there's like a shape, like the shape of this here. I remember like what's where sort of abstractly. So like Armin behavior, which is like one of the first scripts that I ever wrote, which is the main player character, and I keep updating it. I kind of like know, I have conventions and I know how I write scripts and I know how this script is written. So I vaguely know what this looks like and I'll remember that kind of just forever. I just like have a good sense for that. And that helps. In terms of like, when I start getting a bit confused is when I write things very quickly and then move on. I haven't had time to like digest what I've written. And in those instances, it can get a little overwhelming, but what tends to be the case is if you have something and that thing is self-explanatory and you've written it such that it's self-contained, it doesn't have to touch a whole bunch of other things in order to do its job, then typically it's a lot easier to remember just this than to remember, oh, this interacts with this, and actually that depends on this thing, and because of that, this thing needs to talk to that. And it, like once you start doing that, it's you know, it's much harder to know where the logic is if it's not living in a code, in a script that just has that one job. So making sure that your scripts have just one job is really, really important. Like this character is able to be this dust enemy. I've rewritten his script today. His script used to be a lot longer. Where is it? This one here. Look at how much code got removed today. All that red means code that's gone. Green is code that got added. I threw out 80% of the script today because I've updated it to now use a lot of the modules that I have in the game. And the modules are like reusable behaviors for the enemies. So I don't need to know how this enemy chases the player character because I have a thing that's just called chase. And it just knows how to chase the player character, no matter who it is. And I give the chase a walk animation, and then it knows how to use the walk animation to chase the player character. So it's stuff like that. Oh. Okay. On dust hurt public override void do if animator.is playing, and then when we call the animation we say 10 frames per second, false, true. So then I can say, I hit you once, you sew back together. Nope, okay. Okay, looks like it's not going to do that. Animator.play. Okay, it needs to not loop. It's not looping. So then that should work. I am going to bet that if I just recompile it, it'll work. Yeah, there's nowhere else that it does that. But it should also do something here where we say if her animations is greater than the current index. I think +1 is okay. But then we should increment the index. Hang on a second. When we get hit, we set this. No, that's going to reset every time. Okay. No. It won't. It won't if it's already... So if it's already this, it's fine. Index is going to be 0 at first. Play the index. Index goes +1. That should work, actually. I think that might be all right. 1. Nice. 1, 2. 1, 2. Didn't quite work that time. 1, 2. No. Hey, Vlong. What do we do? If the count is like 3 and the current index is like 1, that's fine. If the current index is 2, I mean, what we could do is I want to increment the index every time we get hit. But this should start at like -1. Is that better? I don't know. Yeah, perfect. And then when we get hit, we always want to we can face the target. That's not really what's going to happen though. It should be more like character stun, face, knockback. Scale damage vector. It might have to be negative that. I do have rolling. Look. Sweet. So, do I imagine I might continue enhancing Insignia until it becomes Pixel Elden Ring? No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm working towards Elden Ring. Hey, Cyborg Chipmunk. Almost 60 months. Holy moly. Welcome, welcome. That's almost 5 years, I think. So does this guy like spawn out of the ground like that? Nice. And then can I put him in the library? Does he spawn out of the candles? Oh, that didn't look very good. That's okay. It's funny that they don't use the y-axis, but they should. They didn't before, but they will now. That is part of the fly behavior. So when we chase, there should be something that's like x-axis only or something like that. Chase x only. We don't want to do that. We want to chase on the y-axis too. There we go. Now they can chase us on the x and the y. Cool. And I think this needs to be more like 8 frames per second, just to slow it down. Knockback, please. They got knockback. Sweet. In terms of depth, I mean, like I've got a pretty set goal. The hard part is like once you set up the game. Oh, that's no good. These guys, where are they? You need to be off by default. They all need to be off. So when we load it up, we attack these. No dusts. Okay. That is supposed to be chance based. But there we go. Cool. That's awesome. All right. Did that work with the boss fight? He needs to respawn. Oh, that one did. No, but that one didn't. Okay, anytime on enabled. So from all the way from downtown, excuse me. Public void on enable. Set spawn true. Yes, please. Ah, thank you. Okay, kill this guy. Good. Spawns every time. Sweet. It works. So, updates. Dust. Dust. Enemy. To use behavior states. Now can travel on y-axis. Am I going to be adding any camera panning features? When you say panning, do you mean like up and down or left and right? We already added up and down like a month ago. I might make it as an optional thing on like the right analog stick if your controller has one, but if I hold up, you can look up and down. It's not very powerful right now. That actually should be pretty good. I don't know why that one doesn't go very far, but if I go to like a different level, it'll go pretty far. It just depends on the level bounds. It looks into the available space that it can look. So if I'm up here, I can look down a lot more. Just like for certain reasons, I can't have the camera go too far off the screen. Otherwise, the content will start. You'll stop seeing important stuff. It's a thing in every game, isn't it? Like, as soon as when you're working on a game, you only work on the stuff that you want players to see. So when you let players see further, now they're going to see stuff that's not finished or that they're not intended to. So you got to be very careful with that. Okay. So that was really good, but there are some key flaws here that I don't have settled just yet. And one of them is that Armin currently... So yesterday we were talking for a long time about what we might have to do, like how to integrate the new sort of aspects of the combat system, the deflections, into old enemies. Yeah, there's already a bunch of stuff, Shipla, that like the game does to allow that to happen anyway. So the in-game camera automates quite carefully. You know, if you stand near an edge, the camera will look down at the edge, for example. So a lot of that panning stuff is kind of, it's happening automatically. But yeah. So yeah, what do we do about how to implement the poise and what do we call it? Pressure, the pressure system. In the context of things that don't have pressure. So like, for example, this quill does not have any kind of like pressure settings. You know, you're not supposed to be able to like parry it 3 times and then it bounces back. Every parry should have the same effect as a real parry because it doesn't have any defense. So what that looks like should be something like, if we go to reflex attack, this will deflect. It's this line here that's not great. We need to start picking it apart and having a look and see what it means. So will deflect says it's not the case. So like, there's so many null checks here. All right, so it will deflect if we don't have pressure or will not pressure max. And instead this should be like will parry, I think. And I think will parry should be if we either don't have pressure or, yeah, and then that's that. And then this is if will not parry. It will parry if we either don't have a pressure or it will pressure max. That's better. Okay. Let's see if that works. Nice. Your combat system is nice, but also valuable to have simple enemies that you just strike in a simple way. Just like those enemies that I just updated right now. Most of the enemies are like that, just so you know. There's only right now one enemy that you need to parry in the whole game, and it's this cat. You don't need to parry anybody. You could just beat on the enemies if you really want. I'd love a manga of Insignia. That'd be sick. Oh. You have to parry Roberto. You do have to parry Roberto. Speaking of which... Whoops. That's broken. Okay. How do we fix? Well, the cat fight's still not quite right yet. We're still working on it. But I think when I originally started working on the cat, we didn't have any of these features. So adding the guards and the parries and all that kind of stuff into how the hits get traded meant that the cat didn't have to be quite so complicated anymore, because now like the way that that fight is supposed to go is orchestrated by the game at a systems level rather than specifically the cat behaviors. So I can make the cat behaviors a lot simpler and just give it the property of the cat will block you until you pressure it. Whereas before we had to like emulate pressure because the system didn't exist. So, Roberto, punching machine. Is it called punching machine? Yes. So, let's have a think about how this is actually working. How do you work, Mr. Punching Machine? Are you alive? Lots of different lives, okay. And each of these lives they are targetable, but I don't think that should be the case. In any case, when you play other games, do you catch yourself thinking stuff like, how do they implement that? Usually it's actually pretty obvious how they implemented it. Like I've been checking out a lot of Nintendo games in the last couple of years since I've been working on Insignia and just being a bit more of an experienced developer. Whenever I play a Nintendo game, there are times where I'll look at what they're doing and I'll think to myself, oh, that's pretty simple. Like, I'm surprised that Nintendo seems to be able to get a lot of gameplay value out of very simple things. They will dress something up to be much more magical than the code implies. Like, the code is very simple, but the effects and the music and the sounds are a lot more just like visually interesting. And they, you know, it's like a magic trick that's very simple but very well executed. Nintendo does that a lot in all like Mario Odyssey, that kind of thing. A lot of those game mechanics are like not complicated at all. They're just presented very, very well. FF7 and Chrono Trigger top 10. I haven't finished Chrono Trigger, but FF7 definitely is. So punching machine up hit is doop, just like this, and it has an up direction, which is good. Did playing those games inspire you the way that you implement things for your game? It's definitely influencing me. I'm not inspired by the way Nintendo builds their games. Well, yes I am, but not on like a mechanics level, more on like a structure level. So this is an up hitbox, up hurt box, simple effect vector. Okay. So why then does Armin get put into his like hurt state? It's a cutscene, isn't it? Okay. Life, player character, life on hurt, add listener, respond to hit confirm. If playing end game. I see. Respond to hit confirm. Hit confirm here means that's on hurt, and on hurt gets called on invoke if the collider does not ignore the hurt. Would you consider your game complex in code? Yes, I think so. I think there are some parts. I'm actually making a video on my scheduling system. The tough part is complexity. Let me finish my sentence. So yes, I do. I'm making like a 30 to 40 minute video about one of my features. And I think that for the lay person, they would find it complex. For like just the regular person who doesn't make games, they would find the system complex. However, the system itself is probably like a second year computer science level system. It's not like if you're learning at university, you could understand how this works very simply. What makes the game complex is more about how the systems need to interlink. That's the part that's hard. It's not any one of the systems. It's the fact that they all need to cooperate. And all the considerations and edge cases that I have to manage in the orchestration of the systems. That's complex. So you could make Insignia, let's put it this way. If I made Insignia as a side-scrolling, level-based or puzzle game where you just load into a level, you see a room, you solve the room ends, now you're on level 2. If that's all the game was and there was no cutscenes, I would have probably months and months of code that doesn't need, that wouldn't need to have been written. Just the fact that like every level you walk in off one side, you play the level, you finish the level. If that's all it was, and I didn't need to like have cutscenes that play sometimes when you walk into a level, or have NPCs when you talk to them and the game transitions to like a completely different scene. You know, it's the non-linearity. Some NPCs that can appear in a scene and then disappear from the scene and then reappear later. That stuff's really, really complicated. And it gets complicated. Stylized sky shader. Hey, Wallace, I'd love to get your feedback on it. Honestly, like without seeing it, it's hard to say. Personally, I'm not sure about, is this like glitch? Is it supposed to look like glitching? I suppose it's kind of cool, like for the right game. I could see this being interesting. I like the horizon and the sunset. Stars. But they're black though. Black stars? As long as you can turn those off, I'm okay with it. Looks like you can. Yeah, it's cool. I wonder why these palettes, would it not have been easier to save these as gradients? I guess you wouldn't be able to name them the way that you have done here. It's cool. I don't know if I have imposter syndrome, but I'm finishing computer science and I still find the layers and complexity be quite impressive. I'm also making a game, but I don't feel it's as organized. Yeah, I think like the way that you should not look at me and see me as a target. You should look at me and see me as like someone who's just doing something very extra. Because if I was making a game from scratch, I would not make a game with this level of complexity. Not every game needs it. And in fact, lots of games actually are like full games and have way less complexity, you know, and are you would never think that they would be less complex than this. They just happen to be way less complex, if that makes any sense. You know, this project is one that has like grown over time, and so it's constantly had to like shed its shell and reassess itself and I'm supporting so many old things that I used to support and that still are necessary for support in the game. Just yesterday, I removed like I had health bars, right? And the health bars up here and like on like the enemies, like I supported like sprite renderers and images, but it's like those, you should just use one or the other, you know? I've gone through like 3 different input systems. And so there's so many like layers of abstraction, especially once you start getting into like localization conversations as well, like supporting other language, like knowing that you will support other languages adds a whole bunch of complexity than if you were just making it English, you know? I might have done voice acting if it was just English. Maybe I should still do that. I don't know. You know, and also like there are things that I've done in my game for the purpose of it being like a game that has about 20 hours of gameplay with these systems. Like the parry stuff is not stuff I'm adding because I think chapter 1 needs to be more complex. The parry stuff I'm adding because I'm expecting chapter 4 to need to be more complex than chapter 1. Like 8, 10, 12, 15 hours into the game, you need to be able to be still learning new things about the game. But if I was just making a smaller game that was only like a 5-hour game, this is already more than enough mechanics. So it's just that, like, what the heck? I didn't know that happened. I pressed middle mouse button and the tabs went away. I couldn't stop myself from doing it either. Yeah, like what I wish people understood when they watched me was the fact that like I am not making a typical indie game. I'm making like a AAA indie game. in terms of like what it's trying to do. Like the kinds of systems that it's trying to support are systems you would expect in a AAA game. I'm not talking about quality, I'm just talking about like complexity. A lot like games like Celeste is not as complicated as Insignia. And that's a full game. Even Hollow Knight, the original Hollow Knight, is not as complex as Insignia. It's probably similar. It's probably almost as complex, but it doesn't have like characters walking around going in and out of the levels. Like it doesn't have, at least maybe unless I'm confused, like this guy here, you know, in a specific, if you come over to this tower at this specific part of the game, he's standing up the front and he talks to you in this way. But if you talk to him earlier in the game, he's inside the tower and the tower is not overrun. Like that, and I'm not saying I do it well. I'm not saying like the game's quality is more complex or better than any other game. But Hollow Knight doesn't have that, I don't think. So my struggle is not building the systems. My struggle is making a fun game that happens to use all the systems and doesn't get tripped up in those systems. I had a pretty good idea, but it did keep evolving. I can show you some stuff from like earlier on in the project. Let me show you some stuff. I'm waiting for some. So like, for example, this is from like 2018, I think. I had the rations system then, and you could heal health, and it worked similar to how it works today. This is from demo 1.5. So like, I think this is 2020 at this point. You know, there's plenty of stuff that's not working right. Like for example, this is earlier than 2020. This is still probably 2018. I didn't have, the camera couldn't look ahead and it couldn't shift up and down with the geometry. So the character was always dead center of the screen. I had an energy system at that point, like stamina, like in Dark Souls. I still had forging, but it was different. It was kind of closer to Minecraft. Actually, this is pretty similar to where I've ended up, but the difference is that you didn't select a recipe. You just knew, you had to know which things to put in. And it was equipment. You could make different swords and stuff. Still had this. I had parries, and the parries at the time were, you can see here, I've got like the energy system, and the parries had more to do with the energy system. So like, watch when you attack, watch this. The energy goes down. When you roll, energy goes down. But when you roll and an enemy would have hit you, so you see this here, the enemy would have hit you, it replenishes your energy because of the near miss. It's like burnout. I really like that. I thought that was so cool. To like force you to roll to recover energy. If I ever put energy back in, I might put that back in. And you can see here, like the dialogue system, like was still sort of what it is today, but I wasn't using timelines. So everything was just dialogue, and I put the portraits either side like this, and I just had the text at the bottom. So I could never move the camera around very easily during these things. I just had to have characters standing left and right, talking to each other. I didn't really do animations midway through the conversations. I could, but it was really complicated. Anything else? It looks like I was doing locking the game to 640 by 360, which means very jittery camera when moving on diagonals. I wasn't very good with VFX yet. You can see a lot of the particles aren't on the pixel layer. This cutscene took a lot of energy. The cutscene immediately you get shot by an arrow. None of this content's in the game right now. Anyway, so like since then, for example, so much has changed about how I do content. Like, consider this. This cutscene is the cutscene where the dog runs in. Let me show you like I'll show you the most complex cutscene in the game, or like part of what makes it the most complex. Something that I built not that long ago. That this cutscene, I've shown it to you. I mean, you guys know what it is, I'm pretty sure. This cutscene is would have been impossible in the previous one. So first of all, notice how like I've got the text free in the level. So there's like a whole bunch of logic about determining where the text box can be. And this is because previously, right, if I wanted text, I had to push all the game content up, right? Like to have the lower third of the screen always available for text meant the character can't stand here because the text box would overlap him. I'd have to push the camera up or push the camera down to allow the content to go up to have room on the bottom for the text. Now I can put text wherever, but now I have to place the text. So there's that. Armin's looking up in this scene, so like actually, you know, you can see like I'm doing animation like it's a TV show, you know. He's like running for cover, looking up, looking around. The camera can move while we're doing this. I zoomed out, you know, I couldn't do that before. I opened the map midway through the cutscene. That's new. I've got like cutscene stuff happening in the map. I resume the cutscene. You know, I've got like VFX. This stuff's not actually finished yet. I can do like screen effects. I can have like the screen flash and, you know, the shaking, all that stuff. Transition to another scene midway through the cutscene as well. You know, it's very, very different. Shader compiling midway through the cutscene. It just happens in the editor. You know, you unlock a new ability. All of that happened, and the player didn't have to press anything except A to continue the text. That's huge. You know, I couldn't do that before, which meant I couldn't weave the gameplay through the systems. I couldn't have like the menu open up. I didn't have a world map at the time. No, the game actually opens the map. Yeah, that's not faked. I can go into menus in the middle of cutscenes and it doesn't break. There's a whole bunch of like systems that let me do all of this orchestration that makes it worth watching. You know, the camera zooms in to watch Armin slam the hammer down. All of this stuff, I couldn't direct the game that way in the past. Still not perfect, right? But, you know, showing the map and showing, oh, like you've just unlocked fast travel in this area. What changed? So much development. So many systems created to allow me to do that. like months and months of development on systems that allow me to do, for example, the big thing here is, see these blue bits here? This is a cutscene nested inside of the cutscene. So ensigns burst over the world map, levitate Armin and teleport away. That is handled by a script that in and of itself has like, actually that's not, is that an example of one? Yeah, like this knows how to do that. You know, this is like a script that knows how to create a cutscene at runtime that does this thing. And when I click it, ensign world burst, I can go here, and then this is like a scripted cutscene component. So like all of this is like a cutscene that a cutscene fragment that I wrote in code. And that just seamlessly plays midway through the actual cutscene. Because like the map obviously is not like, you know, if I'm here in the timeline editor and I want to say, okay, and then this happens on the map. Well, how do I preview that? How do I like edit it as the author? Well, I can't edit it, but I can write a function that opens the world map. And well, let me give you an example. Spawn engine, not this one. So like here, it's like, here's a state that knows how to open the world graph, the menu, the map. And then this knows how to wait for a second and a half. And then this knows how to do this ensign world burst, right? So this knows how to spawn all of the big stars that go out. And then we close the menu. So this is like a little bit of cutscene that's stowed away in a script, because a lot of what happens in video games is stuff that's, it's not like you went into Maya and you animated it. It's like stuff that has to do with showing the player how systems work. And this all began like with me watching, we did this like literally 6 months ago, like on stream. Let me see if I can find it. One sec, pals. It is one of these. What does that say? Encrypt something. One of the Let's Players. Encrypted duck. Okay, that's that video. Must be this one. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Let me show you what happened. I was trying to like set up a bunch of stuff in the game. And I knew that other games do it. And I was like, I don't know how to, I can't do this in my game. It's too complicated. Too many things. Like I used to do a thing where I used to automate the menu. I still kind of do it just by like virtual button presses. It's like press A and then press up and then press A. And then hopefully you'll be in the right menu. And then wait a second and then press another button. Like I'm like blind playing the game from inside of the cutscene. But that's not right. But I'm watching games do stuff like this. And I'm like, well, they must have something that does this. Think about this, right? This is a cutscene, right? But you do this a bunch of times in the game. Link places the pedestal, places the Sheikah slate into the pedestal, and then dialogue happens. That happens all the time in Breath of the Wild. It doesn't always happen before a tower. Like sometimes it happens when you're in a shrine. So that happening and then the shrine cutscene kicking off straight away, those two things are not bound in one asset, right? There's at least two assets here. Okay, so we unlock the tower, and we have a cutscene showing that. Very good. The next thing that happens is another separate thing is this portal unlocks as part of unlocking the tower. It's like a separate thing, but they need to show it to you. Link turns back to the pedestal. We get this data downloading thing happen. And then immediately the menu opens, right? The game shows you a relevant part of the world map, right? It unlocks a very specific part of the world map tied to this tower. So it's not just opening the menu, it's opening the menu at this part of the game and showing you like your next quest marker on the map. That's really important. So all of this, it's unlocking the Sheikah sensor for the first time. This is all happening just once in the game, this sequence of things. But it needs to happen. I mean, somebody had to make sure it happened. So the game knows how to stack all of that. Somebody authored all of that, but they didn't have to like make it. Each part of the thing we just watched was not built specifically just for this cutscene. Each part was built in isolation, but brought together for this cutscene with parameters. You know, you don't always unlock the Sheikah sensor when you unlock a tower, but for this tower you do. You don't always unlock the whatever tower this is, but for this tower, this is the one you unlock. So there are parametric stuff, script related stuff that's happening. Even this, right? After you unlock the tower, there's one more cutscene to show you that you unlocked the Sheikah sensor and to tutorialize how to use it, right? It shows you the little icon. It says, oh, here's some stuff, you know, shrine nearby, blah, blah, blah. That is super heavy duty stuff. And it's done by essentially scheduling out all of those things as essentially like events. It's saying, hey, do this thing, and then do this, and then do this in like a queue. And then each of those things report back saying, okay, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. And the sequence is allowed to carry itself out as each of the components report back saying that they're finished. My way of interpreting that, like we spent like, again, 6 months, not 6, it was more like 2 months, I think, trying to figure out how to build this, building it, and then updating all the game to allow it to work. And it needs to also work in a non-authored way. There needs to be, like, if you get an item and the item completes a quest, and then completing the quest triggers a cutscene, and then triggering the cutscene triggers the fact that you need to be shown how to add new slots to the inventory for the first time. That needs to happen seamlessly, and it can't all stack on top of each other at the same time. It has to sort of sequence itself out. So only in a game where that's possible do you need to build that. But if you are developing a game with this many things, for the game to be smooth, you need to have all that stuff. So it's like, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like a knock-on effect, you know? When you move out of house for the first time, you just think, oh, I've got to pay rent and I've got to live away from my parents. But do you also think, oh, I need to cook all my meals. I need to pay my electricity bill. I need to pay an internet bill. I need to organize, you know, I need to frequently service my car and make sure I'm like all this extra stuff that's happening that just comes with the fact that, oh, I just wanted to live in a different house to my parents. Same sort of thing, you know? Oh, I just wanted to have like open world gameplay and an inventory management system and tutorials for those things. Okay, and quests? Now you got to figure out what happens when all those things are trying to do their thing at the same time. It's a negotiation. Some things it's usually first in, first served. So like, let the things happen in the order that they want. But also sometimes it has to happen in a very specific way. And in that case, I author it. Like it's in a cutscene where the little blue, you know, the things happen in a specific order. as part of the flow of time. So yeah, it's complicated. A good example is, yeah, once you leave this scene, I mean, think about this. So you meet the old man here. I can skip this. I can't skip it. I have to let it play out. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much. The scene ends, right? Immediately loads into a different scene and starts another cutscene. Okay, so we don't have control yet. But this cutscene is the end of a quest. So the quest has ended. This No Dogs Allowed banner was supposed to be called immediately after the quest ended. But right as the quest ended, we had a scene change. So this is not allowed to do this yet. Only after the scene transition is it allowed to do that. You know, it's stuff like that. Like, I didn't plan for that to be the case. It just so happens that the end quest condition is do that cutscene. And also I happened separately to decide that cutscene is supposed to teleport you to here. So the system needs to be smart enough to say, oh, don't tell the player we finished the quest yet, because we're transitioning out of a scene. Wait for the scene to finish, then trigger the end of quest banner when the player has control. Some things are bound to control, some things are just designed to happen whenever. So you don't get the quest complete until the game control gets handed back over to the player, for example. It'll just wait in the queue. Oh, like just then? That also is on a queue as well. It's on a stack. So when you walk into, let's say there's like a chest here. Again, if you're making a different game than this, you never have to solve this problem. If you're making a game that's simpler, like here's the thing. You don't have to support everything in your game. That's the biggest mistake. You don't have to support it. In my game, yes, I support an NPC being able to stand right in front of a chest. But you could make a game where the NPCs don't move, and then you never, ever, ever have to deal with what happens when the player stands in front of both the chest and the NPC. It's up to you to decide. You could just not support that scenario, and then when you're doing level editing, don't put the NPC in front of the thing. As long as you never put one in front, you never have to deal with what happens when they're in front. See the difference there between like the scope, accepting scope as an engineer of just going, well, I want to support. I don't want that to be, you know, I don't want to not have a solution to this. Of course I should solve it. But like in a different environment, you would just go, don't build it. Just, you're not allowed. Move them. We don't have the time to write that code. But I did spend the time writing it. So what happens in my game is there's like a bucket like this, right? And when you walk in front of something, it gets added to the bucket. And if you walk in front of two things at the same time, the bucket adds both of them. So this will be here, this guy will be here, based on which one came first. And then when you walk away from them, they get dropped out of the bucket. So when you press S to interact, it picks the thing on top of the bucket and takes it off. And then you interact with that. And then it won't be interactable anymore. And then the next time you press S, it picks that off the bottom. And then you interact with that. So it's just in order of appearance. That's why my game takes so long to make. It's hard Game dev doesn't have to be hard, but I made it really hard for myself. But now I have a game that can do all this stuff. So now the game has to be good and justify all the time I've spent. All right, does this auto parry straight away? Did I actually fix that? Good. One more time. Wait a second. Bop, bop, bop. I think that worked. Oh, how'd I get on this side? I did do the slowdown, which is right. I was just too slow. Good. Okay, and now Harriet's gravity doesn't seem quite right, does it? Her gravity is 1.5. If I were to go to Hedgehog or Martin, whichever one I can spell, really. What's your gravity scale? 2. And then 2 it shall be. Thank you, Bam. Pointers, keep it simple. Come at me. Oof. Just laid out. I said. That felt better, I think. What I'm really looking for is if I knock her, if I send her downwards, she falls at a rate that looks normal. That actually does look pretty good. Oop. Damn it. Nailed it. Okay. Stop, stop, stop. Get rid of you, and you. Updates reflex attack. To parry non-pressurable objects. Good, good, good. And then back over to this scene here. Good. I've done that so many times. Touch the shift key. I know I can make that. Yeah. Oh, actually can't. I think I tried it for like 5 minutes the other day. Just trying to get that. All right. So I think now I literally have done everything that I wanted to do with the combat system stuff that I was working on. I use Unity to develop a game, Dr. Boywe. How long have you been a game dev? I've been a game dev since 2017, let's say. Does the player use rigid body to move? Yep. I do use the rigid body system. Do you usually expect guaranteed progress on streams? Yeah, of course. How long have you been making the game? Developing for 4 years, and these systems are beautifully more complex than what I do. Oh, that's nice. Oh, thank you, playtesting the mind. That's very nice. Look, the thing is, there's not really any prize that you get for having complex systems. They're only worth building if they make the game more fun. And so I'm desperately trying to put myself in a position where, yes, the game is more fun because of what I'm doing, but I don't have any guarantee of that right now. What is this pixel? Is that a firefly? Okay, it is. All right. Character animations? You mean just like Berta over here? Like that? In the animation window? I don't have any animations in the animation window. I have a thing that I built called Retrobox. So it looks like this. Yeah, I don't use the Unity animator for my characters. What role do I prefer? Honestly, I think building, engineering and design, probably. So she's just a sprite renderer. All it is a sprite renderer that's changing through the sprites. And I have this component on her called Retro Animator that I use for all my characters. And all it's doing is just cycling through the sub sprites. That's all it is. At a specific frame rate. She just animates at 5 FPS. Done. It's not very complicated. I do have more complicated NPCs, like that can walk around and stuff. So like, let's say, I actually don't have any NPCs that just walk around and can be spoken to right now, but I could easily do that. That's not a problem. So like this guy, he is a, where is he? NPC, Redman. Okay. So he's just the same thing, Retro Animator, but he's got a component called Citizen on him, and the Citizen component moves him around while calling those animations. Again, pretty simple. It's not crazy. But like Harriet, for example, is much more complicated because she's got cutscenes like on her. So when you walk up to her, you know, not in this scene, but in the next scene, there are times where like she's walking around with you. So here, you know, she's walking, we're walking, she stops and turns, or not, doesn't turn. I was an artist first. You know, disappears, that kind of thing. A lot of that is a bit of smoke and mirrors. You know, I have like 2 of her and I like just turn one on and turn one off, stuff like that. Anyway. Voice acting, I'd love to do it. Yeah, I didn't know C# before I started using Unity, but I did know how to write a bit of Java. All right, let's pick a task. Come on. I know you all have heaps of questions. I would love to answer those questions in like a video format for YouTube or something like that. Do you want to hear some music that Morgan wrote today? Fresh off the press. It's not finished yet. It's super early. It's the first iteration of our Solstice Festival music. Check this out. That's her playing the whistle. Isn't that cute? I want it to be a little more grand, but I think it's a really good melody. Yeah, it's fun. So we are going to be doing some, I think we're going to work on the town a little bit more today. I don't know why I have to do this. Excuse me. What if I just didn't open Steam right now? Wait, it closed Sprite? What a jerk. What about if I go to asprite.exe? How you gonna stop me from doing that, Steam? Do I still code everything raw? I mostly code everything raw, but I use like the tab thing. Like I let it auto suggest like the next line of code sometimes. I don't prompt unless I'm building something that is out of my depth. And I'm only mostly prompting for the purpose of like Googling, really. I'm using it as a Stack Exchange. I really don't like the idea of like letting it just write a bunch of code. That really bothers me. So this is the town right now for chapter 2. And I think this I quite like. I like everything about this. I'm a little, what's the word? Self-conscious about the saturation in this scene. Maybe it's not a big deal. I think I'm just getting like in my own head. But I do like it. I think I just need more vibrant green in the foreground layer. I don't mind everything becoming more desaturated as we go back. All the characters and stuff. It'll be fine once it's ready. So what I want to do today is see if I can start replacing, maybe just work on these mid-ground assets a bit more. Right now, in the game, in the same town, it's very higgledy-piggledy. It doesn't. All of the background was not created with any knowledge of the mid-ground. The mid-ground was not created in any knowledge of the foreground. So it feels like they're from 3 different games. So I think what I want to do is, I don't dislike these buildings like this, but I think the way that I created it was kind of like very non-specific. I was like, skyline, you know, bunch of buildings. Whereas I think what it needs, which I'm happy about, is like more like streets. Like I need to be able to, if you can see down a lane as you walk past it, I think that's way more evocative than just having a wall of buildings. Hello, Pixel. Pixel Lab Games, welcome. Pixel Lab Org Games. The famous guy. That's very nice. I don't feel like the famous guy these days. I just feel like the guy. So yeah, I want to breathe a little bit more life into this, and I want you to really feel like it's a city with depth rather than just like a bunch of cards. So to do that, I think what I need to do is sort of just hide a bunch of these layers. And just think about like the depth layers. I think I felt famous there were 2 points in my life where I felt famous. Once in like 2020 when the channel started really taking off. That was like, oh my God, I'm famous. I got the silver play button and everything, and it was like, I'm on top of the world. And then 2025, early in the year, going to GDC, meeting all these people saying hi to me and thanking me for teaching them pixel art, and then going to Prime's channel, and that was like 2 weeks of holy crap, like people know who I am, and they're excited to see me. Whereas I think since then I've just been feeling like a lot of pressure, because I'm no longer this guy who just makes YouTube videos. I'm now the guy who made the YouTube videos and has a game he's been working on for ages, and like, when's the game ever getting finished? That's who I feel like I am. I feel like I'm the guy people are gonna forget about if he doesn't finish his game soon. I use Unity. Like, I feel like I have something more to prove at the moment. And it's kind of the way that a lot of the community, it's no one's intention, but the grant funding, for example, is set up in such a way that like they won't fund new projects by people who they've already funded for old projects until the old projects release, for example. Now that is absolutely reasonable. That makes perfect sense, and I don't have any problem with that. But it's very isolating for me, because like, if I was the kind of dev who made a game, just smaller games every 2 years, I could be getting a lot more funding and being like rewarded for, you know, churning, like being more prolific, I suppose is the word. Whereas because I'm making a big game, and it's a big game that's not out yet, and there's just a lot of like, and maybe this is just me, like maybe I'm just feeling this, but it's not real. It feels like there's a lot of expectation. You know, like I've really got to show that I've got the goods. It feels like that. Like, or else. And I did do this to myself. It's not anyone else's fault. And it's not even actually, in a sense, it's not even about what I think people think about me. It's more like the systems, like the algorithm. It's like, I think the algorithm thinks people don't care about me anymore. Or like, you know, like I said, like the way that the grant funding systems are like set up. Like, it's not that anyone in particular is saying these things or thinks these things. It's more just like the sense that my opportunities are becoming more limited, for example. Like there are just fewer things set up to support people in my position. Like, for example, there's a festival happening where I live in like a month, and it's really cool. Like, it's like a local festival for game developers, and just people from around the city will come and watch, check out all the new games and stuff. Very local, very grassroots. I attended last year with Insignia. I wasn't asked to come back this year because like they've already seen Insignia. You know what I mean? It's like they're just like, I'm not going to show them anything new. I'm not releasing this year, so it's probably best to let someone else demo, And I feel that way too. Like I wouldn't even question their decision. I'm pretty sure actually if I had like, and this is my problem, if I had gone out and said, hey, I really want to showcase this year, they probably would have accepted my request, and I would be going there. But instead I kind of use organic interest as like a little test, It's like, oh, if things are going right or whatever, like I'll be asked to go to this thing or that thing. Or like if the opportunity is right, maybe that's just a dumb thing to think. But I really do think that like I shouldn't have gone this year. Like I'm not going this year. I'm just going as like just to attend. But like, yeah, it's not, I would feel very differently if I had a new game every 2 years. I would like absolutely go to every event, and I'd speak at the events, and I'd be getting out there a lot more if I felt like it was something that I was meant to do. And I do want to do all those things. That's the part that's really hard, is that like I'd love to go to those events, or like a GDC. I'd love to go to GDC every year. Even if America's a bit scary at the moment, I would go, because I had so much joy meeting all those people, and I still have so much more to give in terms of like advice to young game developers, like fledgling game developers who want to make games like what I make. I would be absolutely over the moon to speak at one of those events and give any advice people wanted to hear. That would make me very happy. I'm just not in a position to do it at the moment. So I think like, maybe like, for better or worse, I've kind of just isolated myself with this game, just circumstantially. So I definitely don't feel like the famous guy at the moment. No matter how rich you get, don't make any gacha games. I don't think I will get that rich. Yeah. It can be like that, Domino. It's just like things just don't, like YouTube kind of like gets a vibe and it goes, we won't promote your videos just now. Like give someone else a turn. Someone else is trending right now. That's how it feels a little bit. I was really upset and moved by hearing that Heartbeast is not making any more content. There's been a couple of creators now that are just like kind of disappearing from YouTube, and I guess this is natural. It just happens, people move on. But his particular reasoning for not wanting to make content right now is one that I feel like absolutely for my own reasons, and it can, like, I have a video coming, but it can feel like such a drag to make content when you don't have like any sense that there's an audience there excited to watch it. PC monitor. Oh, I'm not in a really good position to give that like a response on that one because I don't really buy monitors that often, but the one I have is just a Samsung monitor. As long as you get one with good color reproduction, I think you're fine. That's the main thing. Like the RGB, it's like a Adobe. No, it's not 4K. I just make all my stuff's on 1080p. There's like a true, what's it called? sRGB. If it has like the full sRGB spectrum, then you're good. I think that's what it's called. I might be embarrassing myself just by saying that. There's like a proper measurement of how well a monitor reproduces color. That's all I'm trying to say. If you can just make sure that your monitor does a good job of reproducing that spectrum, then that's all you can really expect. And as long as it can be calibrated and stuff, but I don't have like an immediate recommendation. And in fact, I have two monitors here and they're both from different brands and I use them. I look back and forth across the two a lot of the time to see how they both feel differently. In fact, if you're making content, that's actually a really good suggestion is like, don't just look on one monitor and don't just listen on one set of headphones or one audio device. Like use different stuff and see how it feels across the different devices. Like here's another hack, just because you got me on a roll. What I do when I'm mixing my YouTube audio, like if I'm making a new video, what I'll do is I will take I will watch a YouTube video from someone who I like. For me, it's Maximilian Dude. There's a guy on YouTube named Maximilian Dude. He does commentary and gameplay and reactions. He talks about fighting games and RPGs a lot. So I'll put one of his videos on and then I'll play my video in like DaVinci Resolve and I'll just listen and see if anyone's more loud than anybody else. And I'll just mix it according to his videos. So as long as my content isn't too quiet to be listened to against a Maximilian Dude video, that's the right volume. That's how I think about it. Because I trust him. I know he's probably mixing it correctly or has an editor who's doing it. So as long as your audio sounds as good as another YouTuber's audio, then it's probably fine. I don't think he does. If I was to hazard a guess, I would imagine he does not do that. Oh, dude. You know, it's 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 tough because, especially as a streamer, like they say be consistent, but actually consistency over like many years is not actually a good thing. I think you should always be looking to reinvent and think about what's popular, and like the world's changed since 2019. It's a different place. Content is different. And I feel like I've in the last literally like 3 years, I feel like my style of content has gone like right out of fashion. And then I'm actually wondering if it might come right back into fashion very soon. Just by virtue of like people getting sick of AI and how fast the world is right now. TLSS5. Let's not go there. Yeah, I'm very conscious of that, Slashed. That's one of the biggest things I worry about. And I think I'm guilty of also leaning into that. There was a long time when I was like, what kind of content should I make? Well, I'll do the content that does well, which is tutorials. And I think that in a way, it's good to build an audience that way, but then you have to suffer the whiplash of the algorithm not liking when you don't play to that audience anymore. Once you start trying to talk to your players as an audience, now the algorithm says, hang on, but this doesn't appeal to all the people who just like your tutorials, so I won't promote it as much. So it's a double-edged sword, and you have to be so careful. That said, I think part of it for me has actually come from me not being loud enough about Insignia. And I've been very intentional about that, but I don't know if it was the right call. It's been a long road, and I really have not been shouting from the rooftops about Insignia for most of it. Like, how many years now? 9 years it's been. And I don't post about it every day on Instagram or on Twitter even, or anything. I just don't. Partly because I'm concerned about people getting tired of me. And partly because I just don't think I can turn over that much content so quickly. I can't just rave about my game all day. At least not yet. But there will come a day where I think I can do that. And I think I'm close to it. And so it's really just about like, okay, what does it take? When is the point where I'll feel like I can just evangelize about Insignia? I could just get excited about Insignia every day and share stuff about it, or every couple of weeks have like a really big post, marketing the game. It's sort of a big difference between like I think some people are natural storytellers and they want to just say, hey, I made this thing. And it's just, they have a fun way of describing what they made. That is important. I want to do more of that too. But there's like a separate thing of like, my game does this thing that you, gamer, will want to play. That is something that I'm not ready to do yet. Insignia doesn't have that yet. Because Insignia is a complicated project and has a lot of depth to it. And so knowing how to do that is something that I experiment with it, but I don't have like an answer yet. Like I'm not on like full bore like marketing mode, which honestly I'm grateful for. There's this thing that I think it's true. I hope it's true. I sense that it's true, but I can't tell you that it is, which is that like when the time when you should be marketing your game is when your game is easy to market for you. Like if it's hard for you to talk about your game, it's not ready to market yet. Like you just don't have it figured out. Like I can tell when I'm saying things to people that I don't have faith in or that I haven't solved yet. And when I have solved them, it's easy to talk about. You know, it's really easy to say, hey, my game does this and I solved this by doing da-da-da-da, because it's done. And people can hear pride in your voice as well when you're proud of something. That's what I think anyway. Like I think this video that I'm planning on making, that I'm working on at the moment, I think it's a good one. I think people are going to really enjoy it. And it's got a little bit of marketing for Insignia in it, but it's still probably more about showing you something cool than about my game. It's about like teaching you a way of thinking about game structure. Do you want to, I could run it by you. It's not really ready yet. I haven't really given it any personality either. It's just an outline. But the outline goes something like this. And this is not the title of the video. This is just like a working title. So talking about sequences, think about how games like GTA have tutorial missions and how complex those tutorial missions have to be to guide you through story and also teach you something. How they open the map and they put a marker on the map and you're midway through driving a car and you're learning how to use a new ability while driving the car and you're chasing somebody and someone's talking to you on the phone and there's a lot happening, right? And it all works seamlessly. I had gotten to a point with Insignia where I felt like I had a lot of stuff that could happen and I couldn't plan when it was going to happen, but it all needed to operate seamlessly. And I had built other things to help me solve that problem in some respects, but mostly to do with like additive menus, not stuff across time. I would give an example in the game of that flow. And then using Breath of the Wild as a case study. I might even bring other case studies into it. Like there are other games like Final Fantasy X, when it teaches you the sphere grid, has like an interactive menu, or even just showing you other games that have any kind of sequencing, like in Kingdom Hearts, when you open up a chest, you know, Sora walks up to the chest, he taps the chest with his keyblade, the chest opens, new item shows up, then it lets you keep playing. So there's almost like a cutscene bundled up with a dialogue, bundled up with an inventory moment. Then go deep on the Zelda example, like I did today, breaking down every component, thinking about the thought process of breaking the structure down. Like these parts were built in isolation. Somebody built the map. That person did not build this cutscene. That person did not build this UI for the unlock menu. So if they were built separately but orchestrated together, there must be some layer that's doing that. And that's what we need to build, is this layer. Here are some of the principles that I use to rationalize why it should be that way. So don't repeat yourself, single responsibility, those are really important. There's no way Nintendo, it's possible this is the case, but I would hope that Nintendo did not author this like 16 times, for use in 16 different parts of the game. You would write it once and use it in 16 different places. So given that you need nesting, given that you have modularity and you need to be able to queue up a bunch of stuff, there's also this quality that I haven't really explained yet about nesting. Like the menu stuff is just something that you would want to slot in between the rest of this, right? You wouldn't want the menu stuff to be written out between this. You would just say, and here's where the menu goes in, and here's what I want the menu to be able to do. And then the menu can do the same thing that this is doing on its level. I'm the menu, and here is where the map opens, but I don't know how that works. I just know that it needs to happen here. It's very much like writing a class with functions, right? The function name the person calling the function doesn't need to write the function. They just say, hey, I just need to sort this list, or I just need to open the menu. Then there's a bunch of code that opens the menu. That's what's happening here, really, right? It's modularity and it's nesting. So then I talk about kind of what that enables me to do in my game and try to disambiguate it and describe it to you as how you can build it. And then, yeah, that's it. Maybe I'll show you some code samples. I'd love to do, one of the reasons why this has become really hard for me it's become really hard for me to think about making videos, because so much of what I think I want to communicate to you in the videos is visual. And I want to show you diagrams of parts moving, right? I want to show you what nesting looks like visually. Take this thing, put it in there, expand. This is made of these parts. Pop this off the stack, push this on the stack, that kind of thing. I want to be able to like demonstrate those things to you with animation. And I've been looking for a really good way to do that. And I think the trick to this actually is not to chase the VFX first, the motion graphics first. I think the trick is make the video and then put the thing in. Hey, Pixel Fireplace. I think that's true. And you know what? Like the crazy thing is, knowing how to describe this is really important if you're a vibe coder. Knowing that you need something that does this level of thinking, if you're a vibe coder, you will never reach it. And if you are someone who's trying to build it yourself, you will find a lot of pain before you reach this. So like this is super helpful. I just don't know how to market that yet. Like how to brand content that is about code architecture from a design principles perspective. Because those principles, even if you are trying to vibe code, you need this so bad. Because otherwise, if you don't have this, your game is going to fall apart. Like within a couple months, you just won't be able to build the game if you don't have good design patterns. And it's not like I've Googled like YouTube videos for design patterns, and they're all the same ones. It's like the singleton pattern, the observer pattern, the factory pattern, the object pool pattern. Those are all really valuable, but like those are like first order patterns. You also need like second and third order patterns that are more game specific and genre specific. And yeah, if you're not prompting your AI to work with those patterns, it will just build them separate. It'll just build all these things completely distinct from each other with no way of talking to each other. Guaranteed. So only the people who have written stuff like this by themselves will know how to write good games in the future. Even if everyone else is vibe coding. Like if you don't know about this kind of stuff, you're just gonna get lost and stuck and frustrated, and then pick a different, simpler game to make. Yeah, but this is the thing. Like I don't have the time to be a game dev communicator right now. That's the thing. Like I don't have time. Even what I'm doing right now, I probably don't have time to do this. I know my experience is very valuable, but it will be more valuable if the game is a success. You guys know how valuable this stuff is because you watch me do it. You watch me have heartaches and then solve problems, and then I don't have heartaches anymore. But if you're someone who doesn't know jack about game dev, you don't even know the difference between someone who's struggling to build something very complicated and someone who just doesn't know what they're doing. So most people who don't know very much about game dev, who are looking for someone to follow, will follow someone who doesn't really know much at all, who's very confident. Confidence reads as expertise if you don't know very much. Like there are lots of YouTube creators out there who will tell you how to make the best game in the world, how to make World of Warcraft, and then you will never learn enough from them to get even close to starting that. But they're good to watch. They're fun to watch. So it's not that, anyone who's advocating for game development is doing a good thing, but the value of actually knowing how something works, or at least understanding what is involved in making that thing, that's it's something that you have to be as good at selling as the people who are selling their stuff. Like I'm not in a position to sell what I do as well as people who sell what they do when they're doing less. I'm not, because it's easy to sell simple things. It's harder to sell hard things or complex things. No one wants to be told like, this is really hard and you have to listen to me or else. Nobody wants to be told that. Everyone wants to be told this can be really easy if you follow these 2 steps. And most importantly, until Insignia comes out, I might as well be those YouTubers to most people. I might as well be one of those guys. I know nobody thinks of me that way. Like I'm confident enough that I don't think of myself as a grifter, and I know nobody else thinks of me as one. I don't sell anything. But like, it will be way more worth it for me to finish this game, have it be, make it, if it's a big success, lots of people like it, and then I get to talk about how I built it. Billy Basso at the moment, he will be at that conference that I was talking about, the expo that's coming up in my city. I didn't get to see Billy Basso at GDC last year because he was like inundated. His talk was like so popular that I didn't get to get in. I'm going to get to see him this time because he's coming to my city. But Billy Basso gets to tour, for like 2 years after Animal Well comes out because he made a good game. you know? He made a good game and people want to know how he did it. They want to know what his experience was like. That's valuable. His experience is valuable because he went out and did it. I'm very envious that he gets to do that. I'd love to be in a position where I get to do that. If I was really smart and really shameless, I might even start a different project, you know, today. One that I knew I could finish in like literally a year, and then just do that, you know. But I'm not smart or shameless, so I'll stick to my guns and finish Insignia. I'm not that desperate. Do you usually search if there's anything associated to a name before assigning it to a character? Like a character in my game? Most of my characters in my game are pretty... I think they have pretty innocent names. There's not really much to worry about there. Well, you have the plausible deniability of making your game in English to not have to worry about that kind of thing. I don't really worry about like, oh, this means that in a different language. No, I think you should just confidently make what you're making. Because like the list of things that it could be, the list of things that could go wrong there are literally infinite. Like how many languages are there? You know? As long as you don't call your characters like bredophile, I think you're okay. Okay. Tito. But Tito is a name. That's like it was very common in the 90s. I've got a race of enemies in my game called Froggen. And people are like, oh, Froggen is a League of Legends streamer. It's like, okay. Great. Good for him. Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't affect me, you know? Most people don't play League of Legends. There's only so many, like, phonemes, you know? There's only so many things that you can use to make words out of. I say it's fine. Just do whatever you like. Don't stress about it. Oh God, I hope all this hard work pays off one day. Holy moly. It will be so nice. It will be so nice if this pays off one day. Oh gosh. Please. There's literally no guarantee. Isn't that the most depressing part about all this? There's no guarantee this is going to be good or worth anyone's time. Mr. MD Rogers on YouTube says, have you set a hard release date and are you keeping track of that progress you need to make to reach it? I do not have a hard release date yet. No, that's why I still get to do this. That's the reason why I get to still spend time making trees, is because I don't have a hard release date. The second I have a hard release date, I have to hire somebody to make trees for me instead. I can't really use that color, can I? It's got to be like that color. Your heart stopped. Yeah. Oh, I feel so happy for Cakes. Like, you know, the fact that any of us get to have that experience is beautiful. That even one person gets to like ride off into the sunset on a game is like a little bit of hope for the rest of us. I don't think the challenge, the struggle is like, not struggle, what's the word? The difference between like Insignia and I think Cakes' project, does anyone know how long he worked on it for? Was it like 3 or 4 years? Like there might not be it might not be possible for Insignia to have that moment unless that moment is a lot louder. Like it might have to be a lot more money for that to feel that way for me. Just by virtue of like the budget being a lot higher. Like if I mean, look, I would be over the moon if the game made like 200k in its first week or whatever, 100k. That'd be amazing. But like 100k gross is not a lot of money for Insignia. It would be good in the first week. What am I talking about? Of course it would. But like that means 30k to me. That doesn't mean 100k to me. And 30k would be a good first week. It would more need to be like, you know, 4 years. The price point? Yeah, I mean, I think the price point right now, something like 30 AUD, 25 USD is pretty reasonable for Insignia. $20 to 25 USD, depending on where we end up. Yeah. Like, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, imagine working for 10 years, right? How much money do you expect to earn after 10 years of working full time? Like, what does 10 years salary look like? I don't really see it that way because I've actually been able to pay myself to some extent, obviously. Right? Like, you know, I'm lucky that I've been able to be a content creator, and I make money off of the videos still, and off of Twitch to some extent. So in that sense, it's not too bad. I've been able to, I'm okay, you know. Shader graph to the moon. Scene graph, you mean? Yeah, I mean, scene graph, I don't know, we'll see. I really want to spend time on that too, but you can't do everything. You can't be everywhere, everything everywhere all at once. Not possible. Yeah, but I would love, like, if Insignia made, you know, $3 million gross, that would be pretty good. That would be good. But if it made like 1 million gross, that would still be good, but it wouldn't be like change my life good, because I would get about 300K. And that's like lifetime we're talking about. If it was going to make lifetime $1 million USD, then you're really talking about more like in that first week, you know, sort of similar to Cakes' game, you know. But for a 10-year project, that would be less successful. So we would need to like have some big numbers in that first couple of weeks. It would need to be a game that like people were really talking about. I think there's like a sweet spot of like, we would need per platform a couple 100K players in total, I think, for the game to be like, I'm in tears success, you know. For you to get that clip, and don't set it as an expectation. Like, I'm not expecting to have that moment ever, even with Insignia. Even if Insignia reaches my goal, I don't expect I'll know until like 8 months after it comes out, really, whether or not it's gonna be that. Unless it like, do you know what it would have to have? What would have to happen for Insignia to have that moment? It would need to be like a game that was getting a lot of press, that, you know, like IGN was covering, and that got like 8s and 9s out of 10. And then on launch day, you know, a lot of people playing it and no major bugs. That would have to be, you know, I think it doesn't have to be like that, but like that would be a good, that's the kind of thing I think would need to happen for me to like, yeah, I don't know, have my right off into the sunset in tears moment. And I don't need that. I don't need that moment to be happy. I've decided like it's actually okay if Insignia doesn't succeed at all. Like I will be okay. I'm proud of what I've done. Like I've really tried my hardest. I'm not someone who is so ego driven that I need to be, you know, a big major success, or like that like my life will be, unacceptable unless I can do some crazy numbers with my first, like there's too many. It's such a, what's the word? It would be so privileged, you know what I mean? To expect that of the universe to give me that. I'm going to do my very best. Like, I hope the game's good. That's what I can control. I can do my very best to make sure that the game is good, and I make good decisions as its director. But even very, very good game directors put out flops sometimes. I look at like that interview with Jeff Kaplan, the Lex Friedman one, and I think about like how much absolute chaos they were working through. Like, how the hell did Overwatch come out good? Because Titan certainly wasn't gonna be. You can just hear it in him talking about it, that like they were screwed. They did not have a game after like 8-10 years. They had no idea what they were making. And this is Blizzard. This is like the game studio. Hey, starry-eyed Eva. Nah, Insignia won't be that. If Insignia doesn't do well, even if Insignia does do well, I'll probably not work on a solo project. Or like, I probably won't be the director of the next project. Or if I am the director, I'll be like co-director. I don't think I certainly won't be the owner. That's what I am right now with Insignia. I am the owner of the entire company and the IP. I don't think I want to be the owner of the IP of the next game. The sole owner of the IP. That is the thing that has made this so hard to do. And I don't think anybody really even understands that aspect of it. Like, being the person who owns the IP, if you're the only person who owns the IP, that's so hard. Because no one is incentivized to help you when you're the IP owner. No one's going to help you. If you co-own the IP with your 5 best friends, all 5 of you have to work really hard because you're all in it. If my game is not doing well, nobody is going to sync with me if the ship goes down. No one's going to go, oh, we need Insignia to do well. We need to volunteer our time and energy. No one's going to do that. It's just going to be me having failed, which is what I asked for, but not knowingly. Does that make sense? Owning the IP is rough. It could be great for me because I own everything. If the game does really well, it all goes to me. I'm the only developer who it goes to. But like, that's such a gamble, man. Why would you take that gamble? I had no choice when I started because it was my project, but today I wouldn't take that gamble. This is the 9th year of the project as of like this month. I think if things go well with funding, we could finish it in the 10th year. If things go well. But yeah, it's not, there's no guarantee. So ergo no release date. Ergo, haven't said that in a while. Ergo, no release date. Thanks. Do you want the, does anybody want the project outlook? Do you want to see it? I'll tell you what we got to do in the next year and a half. I haven't really done this before. I actually need to do this. It's 4 p.m. now. I have to go in like half an hour. Let's stop this part. We'll stop here and I'll tell you what we got to do to release this game. Yeah, I mean, it's not like, yeah, exactly. I haven't really been working on it for 9 years fully. I've probably spent more like 5 or 6. And about 4 of those were productively working me towards where I am without like reworks or anything. It's like if I knew how to make it today and I was starting today, it might take me 4 years, especially if I had the funds to hire and direct people. But like, yeah, there's like 3 of those years where I can make a game. You know, 2 more of those years where, oh, this game's not coming out the way I wanted it to be. How do I make a real game now? And then like 3 more of those years were like, okay, this is how you make a real game. And now I'm like making a real game. Even then, like there's a lot to learn. All right. I can't wait till this is, I'm doing the thing as a director. I've learned something and I knew it, but like I'm learning it more. I say to my team members all the time, throw it in the engine. Let's just see it. Let's just throw it in. I need to do that right now. I need to throw this in the engine. I have considered Kickstarter. It's actually still on the cards. When you move the layers and snap them back, what are you doing? What am I looking for? As in when I do this and do that, sometimes I just want to see what layer I'm on and what's on what layer. Like what is, like, oh, this is one layer. Oh, okay, hang on a second. Should that stuff be on the same layer as this stuff? Probably not. So like all of this should probably be just underneath that layer. So now the footprint of this is not where that is. But then also, now that I look at it, maybe like all of this stuff should be underneath, like, or on top of that. And then even these people, like these people back here should probably be like in front of this building, which means these people are attached to that. This is all going to be obvious in a second when I start to paste this stuff in. So we need to make groups: foreground, midground, background, etc. Everything up to well, let's work from the back. This is far background. even the tree, really. And then this is city background 1. I won't do it like that, actually. They're too far away. So I'll name the layers that. I won't make the folders that. So okay, now we need this as a group. Maybe even this goes on that group. Yep. And then this can also go on that group, which is not my preference, but I'll do it for now. And then this is... this can go also on that group. This is mid-ground 1, which this also goes on. And then this is foreground. Everything here is foreground. But let's not be silly. This we'll call mid-ground. This is smoke. That can just go. Or we can put it on the background layer. This is more smoke, which goes even further back. It could probably be on this, in this space. And then this is more smoke. That could probably go on mid-ground too. Except for this part, which needs to go on mid-ground 1, I suppose. Yep. And then this is a separate whole different thing that I was just trying to test. So all of this is square. And then this is nothing. This is foreground. Okay. I will answer those questions in just a second. First thing I'm going to do is call this. It's good to give it a name. I'm going to call it. Oh, actually, did I? Hang on a second. Concept. Hang on a second. Did I ever add any extra detail to this or saturation? They look the same to me, except this one has more detail. So this one can just go. I think I added saturation before I did that, so I think it's okay. I think it's fine. So this is file, save as. Cheverton Misty. That's what I'm calling it. Cheverton Misty. Okay, now the way that we test this is we go to like a completely independent scene. Somewhere that doesn't have any logic in it. Maybe my scratch pad scene. And I use that Misty. I press Control Shift E. Or is it Control E? No. Should be Control Shift E. It's not just Shift E, is it? What's this script? Export. Scripts. Export to export layer groups. That's what I want. Ah, there it is. Hey, la puce qui saute. Thank you so much. Dropped the bed. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate it. I should have like an importer that lets me just drag these in. Okay. Okay, so this is background. This is background. This is midground 1, midground 1, midground 2. This is foreground. One, two, three. 0, 1, 2, 3. It's a French expression that means get up early, drop off the bed. Ah, I've never heard that before. Mais je comprends. Okay, that's nothing. Okay, so this is like 80. And this goes back like there. And this goes back like... okay, not there yet. Tombé. Fell off the bed. Du lit. Cool. I think I have to put the pivot points in the right spots. What I might do, just for the sake of what we're doing right now, is take the canvas and do this to it. Again. We back? I think that's going to look really nice when it's ready. When that's working, that's going to look so good. I'm surprised it's even close. But it's going to need a lot of layers. All right. So, a couple things. I had a question before from Starry-Eyed Ava. How do you figure out how to focus your narrative and not include all of your ideas and concepts? I'm not an expert at this, but what I've found is that if you build things thinking about the foundations first and thinking about all the other things as supporting the foundations, it becomes a lot easier. So like I have my plot synopsis. You should be able to write your entire plot for your whole game, like the broad strokes, in like 5 sentences. Each chapter, probably, you know, you could write a paragraph or two. Every scene needs to support the paragraph. Every paragraph needs to support the synopsis. Do you know what I mean? So like, you should be able to ask yourself the question, does this make the thing that it is a part of better? But you can't stop at that. You have to say, and does that thing then make the thing it's a part of better? And better in the context of pacing usually means brief. You know, it means like, are we driving the narrative towards where the player expects it to be? Are we pushing forward with pace? Or are we sort of taking our time, slowing it down? Sometimes you want to slow it down, but that you have to make that decision. You can't just like accidentally slow it down. And playtesting helps that. Like you need to be in charge of how fast it's moving. Dinwen on YouTube says, why don't you use Godot? Godot was not viable when I started this project. It's a very old project. It just wasn't ready yet. Well, it doesn't. I mean, I wrote that. The way that it works in Unity is the way that I made it work. It doesn't automatically do that. I've got a script that says, hey, how far back is it on the z-axis? Make the 2D parallax value more in accordance with that z-axis. It's not really using the z-axis. It's just a fake script, yeah. So, yeah, it's not as... I'm still cheating. I think I had it better before when these seemed a little closer, and that was a little closer, and this was a little further away. But I don't think I've got that right. Oh, these are further than that. Whoopsie. Background 1, background 2. Ah, that's what I want. I knew something wasn't right. And then in which case, maybe we bring this. What happens if we bring it like way forward? They look too small. They need to be... If the distance from this to this, they need to double for every time you want something to be the same size. So that distance needs to double, and then that distance needs to double as well. Like that. For these buildings to feel like they're the same size as these buildings, but just further away. I still think they could be further back. They didn't quite get there. Cool. So now you can see the trouble is going to be, how do we fill in all of this? The gap that gets created. We could limit the amount that the camera scrolls. You know, we could use a zone camera. And really just lock the camera tight in this window. So we could say the focus ratio is like 7. And now it just doesn't really move that far when you're walking past it. I think that's very effective. Yeah, very good. All right. Why didn't anyone use Godot 9 years ago? Because it wasn't very good yet. So what I wanted to do was, for the last couple of minutes of the stream, and I probably should spend more time on this, is really look at the next couple of years and think about what we need to do. This is big stuff. So I don't know what this is. Chapter 2, Adam, production doc. That can go there. This can go here. I'll call this like chapter 2, final, finishing, chapter 2, and then onwards to release. Okay, so this chapter 3 scope, I mean, it's really very similar. It's going to be like at least 6 enemies. You know, it might even be more than that, like 6 to 9 enemies, which means I can actually budget these things now because I have a team that's actually doing this work. So, oh my gosh. There we go. So this is going to be, you know, at least if I do 6 to 9 enemies and like and NPCs, like 15 NPCs, ends up being something like 60K worth of work for 2 animators, plus over like 6 months. For 2, this is 2 animators plus Adam. AUD 60K over 6 months. If I want that to happen faster, I probably need to double that to half the time at least. It probably won't halve the time. It'll probably only cut it by 25%. 30 minutes of music. This is 6 months of part-time, I should say. If it's full-time, I could probably cut it down, but I don't think I could cut it down. This is the thing. I don't think that my part-time team could double their output if I made them full-time. I just feel like I just don't expect them to. I think they'll wear out quicker. So I think it's more like 4 months full-time. And then if I get you know 4 animators, then we could push it more to like 100K. Maybe 3. I mean, that would be tough. Maybe 60K. It's not 60, actually. Right now it's 45. Not even that. It's actually 30. But if we went full time, I think I'd have to pay them double, so it does end up being closer to 60. Let's say 30 to 60. And this is more like 60 to up to 100. And this is AUD. Yeah. Like I'm currently at 100K AUD a chapter. And I think I could expect that to continue. So it's literally like 300. Yeah, dude, the NPCs in chapter 2, like the characters in this is the NPCs in chapter 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23. There are 23 NPCs in chapter 2, and about all of them have quests. Yeah. That's why I was saying, like, it's a $30 game. Because it's like a 20-hour game. This game's longer than, like... This game's longer than Resident Evil Requiem. If I get to make the game I want to make. Okay. They don't all have quests. Maybe like 3/4 of them or like half of them. So, 30 minutes of music. That's already how it is. Full sound effects. Like that already is... I think it's 15k is what we're paying for that. We're paying 12k for this. This is all in AUD. So we could definitely add a programmer. I would love to do that. Pay them like 30, probably 40k. If they're full-time for 6 months. I don't want them to be full-time for 6 months. I want them to be full-time for 4 months if I can do it. So maybe 30. So this is to get this done to be done in 4 months. That's so scary to me. It's so scary because I feel like we take 2 or 3 weeks to do one enemy, to validate one enemy. I will need to be able to say, here are the dungeons, here are the enemies, here are the abilities, here's the content, let's go. I need to be able to do that to get this stuff done in a 4-month turnaround. Chapter 2, we started in October. It's now March. So we would need to be done now, which means no more demo for chapter 1 work at all. Only work on, and I have been doing a lot of work on chapter 1. The August updates bled right into December. So I probably lost a couple of months of stuff there, but there's so much nitty gritty, what's the word? Game logic for the story, the continuity that I still have to do on chapter 2. Like there's probably 2+ months of that minimum, plus environment art, which is massive. Maybe even scenario editor. If I have people working on these, I think I could just literally, I could spend 12k on that, no problem. And I could probably spend 12k on that, no problem. And at that point, I probably need a producer who's probably going to charge me 20k. So, where does that put us? 115, 127, 157, 179. No, 69. It's like 200k per AUD. But I don't think, where did I get the 100k from? Oh, if I have 4 animators, full-time 4 animators. Yeah. Plus me. Yeah. 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, it's 200k. I could do it for less, but it would take more time. So 200k AUD to USD is about 120. It's about 130 USD on chapter 3. if it's as big as chapter 2. How was it for you the first time someone other than yourself worked on the project? It's been lovely, Patrick. It's been great. No, but nobody else is working on the code, just me. Elias, the sound effect artist, does a little bit, and Luca does a little bit, but they're not working on new systems or anything. They kind of work within what I've already built for the most part. Elias has done some sound effect stuff that's new, but sound effects is quite isolated from the rest of the game logic. Hi, Shiny Fox. How do I live without earning for my game? YouTube channel, is it enough? It's not really enough. I do contracts on the side, and with contracts, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, it's just enough. It's not like really enough. I'm not saving any money for my future. I'm spending all of it just to survive. I also have a wife who has a job. So between the two of us, we handle the rent and the food and everything. I'm not doing it alone. But she doesn't fund the game at all. Okay. So then, if I do that for 3 more, now we're at 390. This is to finish the game content. I hope not to spend this much on the content, because I think we also need like more. I don't think we times this by 3. I think we have to make chapter 4 much shorter. Hypothetically, if an investor came along with offers, would I accept it? Hypothetically, I have been speaking to investors. Not to sell the company, but to license the game. So yeah, I wouldn't, accept, it's dependent on the terms. Like an epilogue short. No, chapter 4, the thing is there's 5 chapters, right? Chapter 4 is definitely shorter. Chapter 5 is sort of alternate content. Chapter 5 is like you get to go back through all the levels and there's other stuff that you haven't done yet. And it's just the final boss, the final dungeon. So I would hope that chapter 4 is like 0.6 times chapter 3 or chapter 2. And I would hope that chapter 5 is about the same, I guess. So maybe it would cost us 400. Well, it can't be, well, another 130k USD would put us, or 100, let's say 150, puts us at 280. That's okay. If we could clear this under 300k US, I think we're okay. It's just a time thing at that point, because I would need to finish this by like November. This would need to be done in November for me to be like on track. And I don't have this funding right now. But the only reason we're even talking about these numbers and those dates is because of a possible investment. So if that investment is going to happen, it's not my fault if it takes longer. So I think we could negotiate the end date being a little bit further out. But I would like to release in 2027. So I actually need to be speaking to people now in terms of scaling up the team. Hey, anyone do pixel art here? Wants a full-time job? Yeah, I'll have to put a call out. And then contracts, that usually takes like a month. We're going to lose a lot of time, and I'm not going to be able to control that. this chapter 3 probably can't. I mean, what does this look like? Where would the callouts be? I put them on TikTok and YouTube. They'll be on the shorts, but I'll also put them out on the Discord as well. Am I willing to sacrifice quality to get things done for cheaper? Not really beginners. I can't really afford to have beginner pixel artists on the project unless they're professional. That's okay. There's also I am on stream, yeah. I'll come out and take. What are you offering me? That sounds nice. I'll wrap this up here and then I'll come out. All right, pals. I gotta go. Yeah, I think this might end up being like one of the most insane years of my life if things do go well. In terms of like just the amount of work I'm gonna have to do myself, because like the thing is I can pick up any of these roles, but I don't want to have to. But I'm gonna have to. We'll see. I need to be able to do this. I think I will be able to do it quickly, but it needs to be like really quick. I need to be so good at this. Or I guess passing on to somebody else who's also good at it. That's the tough part. If I've got someone, it's fine. But I can do it. I can do it cheaper. But maybe not faster than I mean, I can do it faster than them, but not with all my, pardon me, other duties. And if this is 0.6 the amount of work, should it be 0.6 the amount of time? Probably not. Man, I'm really throwing a Hail Mary to get that. For this to be accurate is going to be crazy. The only saving grace I have is that chapters 3, 4, and 5 are a lot more linear than 1 and 2. This won't just be on PC, it'll be on Switch as well. I have a dev kit behind me. This will be like chapters 3 and 4 especially should be a lot easier scenario wise. I am almost certain that I won't need to do the amount of stuff I had to do to get this right. The amount of reworks to get the level arrangements right, I think is not actually a concern at all for for the rest of the game. Basically, I'm very certain of that. Chapter 2, even because it's so segmented, it's not a big deal. Like the dungeon's just whatever it is. This area is a little bit harder, but it should be pretty straightforward. Chapter 3, yeah. Gosh, it's scary to think about. This was so hard. Just gotta go for it. There's no difficulty sliders or anything, no. It's just what it is. All right. I gotta go, pals. Hey, Kedarui, I gotta leave. Sorry. Early ending today. I'll catch you all Monday. Okay. Chicken clicker idle game. That seems fun. Let's raid Moonwood Games. Thanks, everyone. If you're interested in Insignia, in playing it, in helping with its development, in playtesting it, you can wishlist at Steam under Insignia, right there. Here's the link. Please do support the project. I'm excited. Hope you're excited. I'll catch you on Monday. As always, I've been Adam. You've been the Pixel Pals. This has been the Indie Tales Game Dev live stream. Until next time.